Hello again. Before we continue our journey through Ephesians, I'd like to ask you to just pause for a minute and think about the person or the people in your life that you love the most. How would you describe your love for them? What sort of words would you use? Just think. In Ephesians 3 verse 18, Paul uses these words to describe Jesus' love for us, and I'm reading this from the New Living Translation. And may you have the power to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high and how deep his love is. Now, wide, long, high and deep are not necessarily the words that you would choose to talk about your love. You probably didn't pick any of those. Maybe you picked deep. That's the one I would have gone for. But if they are a bit strange, why has Paul used them? I mean, I always felt he was trying to just convey the concept of how enormous Jesus' love is, as far as you could stretch in any direction. Well, if wide is talking about that sort of thing, which it probably is, his love is wide enough to cover every aspect of my life. It's wide enough to cover every aspect of everybody's life, the whole world. It stretches everywhere. Okay, so if that's what that is, what is long? Now, if you talk about going on a long journey, that can mean long in two ways. It could be long as in distance, but it could also be talking about the length of time it takes, how long it lasts for. And maybe that's what Paul's talking about here. He's talking about Jesus' love lasting a long time, the length of your life, the length of eternity. If Jesus loved us before we were created, he loves us now and he'll love us forevermore. Wow. What about high? How can you have high love? Now, traditionally, I suppose many of us think of heaven as being up there somewhere. And I like to think of his love being overarching, a bit like a rainbow. It's over everything. Jesus' love is over all. I think also there's something about his love being high enough to surpass the highest mountain that we will ever have to climb, the toughest things we'll ever have to do. And maybe we only truly experience the fullness of his love when we get to new heights in our relationship with him and in worshipping him. So what about deep? Now, we said that's probably the word that some of us might have chosen to talk about love, and we can probably relate to a love that goes right down inside you. It's really at the very heart of you, deep within you, probably intense to the point where it almost hurts. But I think it's also about Jesus' love can reach us at our lowest point. It reaches the very depths of our sadness, our grief, our despair, our helplessness and hopelessness. Even at your lowest point, Jesus will still be there, stretching out a loving hand. I find it so reassuring, even liberating, to know that there's nowhere and nothing that Christ's love cannot reach. So that's about understanding Jesus' love. In verse 19, Paul takes us beyond that to talk about experiencing it. So let me read the two verses together from the New Living. Verse 18, and may you have the power to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high and how deep his love is. Then verse 19 says, may you experience the love of Christ, though it's too great to understand fully. Then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God. So verse 18 is about understanding that love, even though verse 19 says it's too great for us to fully understand. But understanding is only about head knowledge. It's about facts. It's about possessing information, that sort of thing. Whereas verse 19 is about experiencing the love of Christ. And when we experience it, we're filled with the fullness of everything God has for us. Now, Paul seems to be saying that even though our human brains are too small, too incapable of fully understanding it, we can still experience it. and be changed by it. Experiencing something makes it personal to you. It's no longer just information, it's not a concept, an idea. It's something that you feel, that you understand in a different way. It changes your perception of it and it changes you. Now, I could try to describe to you what it's like to ride on the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Well, actually, I couldn't try and describe that because there is no way in the world you would get me on it. But you know what I mean. But you'd have to ride it yourself to get the full experience, the total experience. But then riding the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach is an experience that's unlikely to change your life in any significant way. Whereas experiencing the love of Christ will always be life-changing. Once you've felt it, once you've soaked in it, wallowed in it, you can never be the same again. Paul says, "Then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God." And there's nothing else that can do that for you. So how do you get to experience this life-changing love? Simple. Through a relationship with Jesus. Now, if you don't already have a relationship with him and you feel like you want to start one, there's no better time than now. If you'd like to email us on hello@lighthousesheringham.org, and you'll find that address on this page, somebody will help you make a start on that journey. There's also a link with this video to a song by Jesus Culture called "One Thing Remains." And that song's all about the love that we've been talking about this morning. The chorus says, "Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me." I'd like to encourage you to click on that link and listen to the song. The words are on the screen as well. Really let it sink into you and to affect your understanding and your experience. And I pray that you will understand and experience the love of Jesus today. God bless you.